welcome along to this London Call-In special live from Loftus Road here on a Monday evening as we look ahead to a Professional Development League 2 fixture. It's Queen's Park Rangers against Coventry City. There's a 15-minute delay to kick off. Kick-off now here is at 7:15. Coventry caught up in the traffic. I also hear reports they headed the wrong way up the M1. Unconfirmed at this stage, but there's been a delay. 7:15 kick-off here at Loftus Road. I'm joined by Ian Taylor and Andy Watkins. We'll be looking ahead to that game. We'll also be looking back on the first team's disappointing defeat against West Ham United at Upton Park, and ahead, of course, to this Sunday's game here at Loftus Road against Liverpool. Turning to first team affairs, and Ian, it's a disappointing result on the road again at Upton Park.
Yeah, the league table doesn't lie at the minute, does it? We're bottom, and there's vast improvement needed if we're to stave off the threat of being relegated at the first time of asking. Obviously, that's not something anybody here is really contemplating at the minute because there's a long way to go. But yeah, certainly very, very disappointed at West Ham. I was actually in the away end, having walked with the fans from Loftus Road to Upton Park, and it was as disappointing from there as it probably was from where you guys are watching in the press box.
Yeah, disappointing result, and as things stand, we're the only team in the Premier League not to pick up a point on the road. People always say it's your home form that'll save you from relegation, if you like, but you can't rely on that. We need to be picking up points on the road as well.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we're starved of goals on the road as well. I think the only goal we've scored, you'll correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm sure it is Charlie Austin's won the goal against Southampton, and you know, we didn't really look like scoring against West Ham. Charlie obviously had the chance at the start of the second half, but it was a disappointing performance. And you're right that we've actually played all right in my view here at Loftus Road, but we need to do a lot better away from home, and we've got 2 home games now, which presents an opportunity, albeit against two sides that will come here and express themselves and look to get 3 points. So it's difficult at the moment, but fingers crossed we can stem the tide over the next couple of weeks.
And interesting to note that throughout last week it was the international break, but it was a full week of training, so clearly there's been a reaction on all fronts to Harry's comments and what has gone on, because normally, particularly at this stage of the season, they might have a couple of days off. They were in effectively preparing for a Saturday game that didn't exist this week.
Yeah, I think they only had a couple of days off at the weekend, which is normally par for the course. But yeah, you're right, they'd normally probably take 4 or 5. Even I see Peter Crouch, Stoke, I think he was in Rome with his lovely wife this weekend. So other teams have been given time off. But yeah, I think it was vitally important. Harry goes on about the lack of fitness at the minute, and I know they've been training hard. There's also been a behind closed doors game as well, which featured a number of first team players. So yeah, that won't be an excuse for much longer because they have been putting in the hard graft.
Yeah, and interesting, that game you mentioned there on Friday at Harlington, behind closed doors friendly against Wolves, finished 2-0 to QPR. Matty Phillips on target with both, and while it was just a friendly, just behind closed doors at the training ground, that will do his confidence the world of good, because he's been getting in the chances, if you like, but hasn't really been hitting the target as much as he'd like. Yeah,
you look back at the 2 chances in the first 2 away games, Tottenham and Man City, where at 1-0 he's missed gilt-edged chances really, and I'm sure Matty would admit that. But yeah, goals breed confidence, regardless of what level you're scoring at, and hopefully he can hit the ground running after the international break, and more importantly the entire squad can, because it's a squad game. You can't put any blame at any individual at the moment. It's a collective that aren't getting the results in the minute. So that's something that definitely needs to improve starting Sunday against Liverpool.
And interestingly, Bobby Zamora started the game against Wolves and completed 70 minutes and did very well, and was working hard throughout and seemed the keenest player out there, which is incredible. And you look at Adel Tarab, got 90 minutes. Sandro got 90 minutes. So valuable match minutes under their belt, and you do wonder what effect that will have on Harry Redknapp in terms of the team he picks for Sunday, because even though we're playing against a Liverpool side who'll be pushing for top 4 at least, you could argue, QPR fans, particularly here at Loftus Road, but also on the back of the disappointing recent results, will expect QPR to go at Liverpool.
I think that's what Rangers fans always wanted. Rangers fans over the years have seen QPR, even in the real dark days, they always got at teams, especially here. And I think that's probably been one of the accusations that has been levelled at Harry this year, is that you look at what Leicester have done, you look at what Burnley have done to an extent. They've gone away from home and they've got not necessarily got results, but they've put on performances which give them hope, and I think Rangers fans will be worried that they haven't seen that from their side yet. So yeah, you're right. We need to get out teams. Will Bobby start the weekend? It's an interesting one, isn't it? He hasn't started a game yet, but you sense that he's back up to speed now, and you sense that he may well pair him with Charlie this weekend. Obviously, time will tell. We're still 6 days away from the fixture, so important for those lads to get minutes on their belt, and hopefully that'll stand them in really good stead come the weekend.
And also the other question, of course, is with regards to formation. He's tinkered with it quite a bit, but he's also gone on record saying, I certainly haven't given up on the three at the back, and he has alluded to that being an issue as to why Mauricio Isla couldn't get into the side at West Ham, because the flat back four doesn't work particularly for Isla. He is, as Harry says, a right wing back.
Signed as a wing back, yeah.
To get him back into the side, you would have thought Harry would need to switch it to three at the back, and obviously Armand Traore, as Harry has openly said, is better as a wing back than he is as a full back.
Yeah, I mean, a lot has been made, hasn't it, this season about formation and tactics, probably because a lot was made of it in pre-season by the manager and the players, and everyone really connected to the club. So I actually don't, bar in the first half at Tottenham where we were destroyed playing three at the back. I actually thought on the opening day we did okay with three at the back, and I listen, who am I to judge and comment? No one, but it wouldn't surprise me and it wouldn't disappoint me, is probably a better way to phrase it, if we did go back to a three, because I think you say, I think it probably suits Ferdinand. I think it probably suits Stephen Corker as well, alongside maybe a Ned Manure in the back three. Definitely 100% suits Isla and Traore. And then it just depends on what kind of players Harry selects in the final third.
Yeah, and it also allows Harry to have two out-and-out strikers on the pitch, which he favours, and arguably you have a better Charlie Austin on the pitch when he's got someone alongside him. I think that was evident at West Ham. He didn't really have too many opportunities first half. Second half, Bobby Zamora came on to partner him, and within a couple of minutes we had our best opportunity of the game.
Yeah, I mean, Zamora's going to go down in folklore, isn't he, because of that unbelievable goal he scored at Wembley. But I think if you look at his overall contribution, probably in the last 4 or 5 games of last season, and then certainly in the games he's come on this season, he is a threat. You say that it'll benefit Charlie having someone like that. I think it will. Whether it's Vargas, whether it's Zamora, only time will tell.
I mean, it was disappointing in East London. One of the positives to come from it was the walk from Loftus Road to Upton Park, Tiger Feet 6, and it raised, I think it's approaching £13,000 for the Down Syndrome Tiger Cubs. You were involved in it, and it must have been a special day.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it's always one of the highlights of the trust calendar. It's unbelievable that it's gone from strength to strength. James Doe and Chris Charles started it 6 or 7 years ago now, and deserve a huge amount of credit, as do Andy Evans and his team, as well as Ian Stennin, who maps out the route for us. But yeah, it was incredible. We were unbelievably lucky with the weather, and it was, everyone was flagging a little bit with 3 or 4 miles to go, and then you get to the Olympic Park and you meet the Tiger Cubs and their parents, and it really hits home then why you're doing the walk. It was incredible, and like you say, there's been a load of money raised, and the opportunity is there for people to continue to donate for the next 6 to 8 weeks. We've got a community game here against Aston Villa in 2 weeks today. 2 weeks today? Yeah, 2 weeks today, where there'll be various opportunities for people to donate. So yeah, a great event. And certainly one that the Tiger Cubs will benefit from hugely over the next 12 months or so.
Okay, so we're waiting here for kick-off against Coventry City, and we're looking at hopefully the next generation of QPR players. And it's interesting, it happens in a week when Raheem Sterling will almost certainly be returning to the club with Liverpool. Assuming he is involved, obviously there's been a lot of talk about his fatigue at the moment, but assuming he is involved this Sunday, Raheem back at Loftus Road. Be interesting to see what sort of reception he gets, because he never obviously played for the QPR first team. He left when he was just 15 years old. I
mean, I think he'll get a good reception if he plays. I actually think that the press have made far too much of him saying he's tired. I think it's sensible. I think there's enough players that have suffered from burnout over the years. I know we're only 4 or 5 weeks into the season, but if the kid's feeling a bit tired, he's played a lot of football, certainly over the last 12 to 18 months, probably played more football than he could ever wish to imagine at this stage of his career. I think it was sensible. I mean, should Roy Hodgson have said what he said to the press? Maybe not, but I'm sure there's been lessons learned in that respect. But yeah, he'll get a good reception, and say what you want about him, he's a hell of a player, and we're going to have to be on our mettle to keep him quiet if he does play.
Yeah, it's almost worked against QPR that he's been probably wound up by the press attention he's received over the last 24 hours or so. It's like
hitting a tiger with a stick and then getting a reaction, and you fear that he'll be more up for this game than any game this season because he'll want to prove a few doubters wrong. It's going to be very difficult for the QPR to contain him.
Yeah, it is, but it's not just him. You look at the Liverpool side in general. It sounds like Daniel Sturridge will be back. I remember what Luis Suarez did to us last time we played him here, but then I also remember what we did to them when we were 2-0 down and won 3-2. And with this place packed as it will be, it's a complete sellout. Liverpool haven't started that well, let's be honest, this season. They're struggling. I think 1 win in the last 5 games in all competitions. And I think that was a cup game that they won on penalties. So
yeah, that's right. And they've only won once on the road all season in all competitions.
Yeah, so it's an opportunity for us to bounce back from what's been a poor couple of weeks. But in general, I've been quite encouraged by how we've played here, so that gives me hope.